Well, it's a sad day today in Arkansas athletics. Um, we've we've lost a phenomenal mentor and coach, but also my thoughts are 100% with Ellen and Sean and Heather and Jeff in the immediate family. Um, their loss is 100 times more. So, just trying to wrap my arms around it and just hoping for the best, for the family and, just send my sincere condolences and also to to all his athletes and coaches that he worked with. It's a beautiful legacy, and I'm just thinking about those athletes and coaches that worked so closely with him, including Lance here, many years as a colleague, and I didn't have that privilege to spend that time with him, and just feel sad. For all involved, but know he's in a better place.
I would reiterate that he is in a better place. Both Chris and I were able to see him on Sunday and visit with the family, and obviously our thoughts and prayers are with his immediate family and also to his legacy of athletes. It was a testament to him how many athletes worked their way back to Fayetteville from across the country and sometimes across the globe to come see him because the word spread pretty quickly that things were kind of sliding downhill for him and his health. But I was very blessed to kind of be under his wing. I've always used the presentation when I'm asked to speak is that a lot of people are surprised that I, as tan as I was, because I was under his shadow for so long, and it was not a negative thing whatsoever. John was always a great mentor to anyone and everyone, but I had the privilege every lunch for almost 15 years. We ran together up on our trails that he created. And it was always a constant exchange of information. So it was almost like a clinic on a daily basis. And I was the benefactor and obviously shared a lot of that with my athletes as well. But he was always very supportive. He always would reiterate, man, I can't coach women. But he was a great coach for men. There's no doubt about it. He will be missed by one and all.
Thank you. Nate, did you have a question?
Yeah, I guess first, Chris, just the transition, how much did John help you during that? Because obviously following a legend wasn't easy with the legend right there on campus.
He was wonderful, Nate. Always had a positive vibe. Every time that I talked to him, I've mentioned recently that, I feel badly that I didn't try to spend more time with him as I took over. Yet I knew the level of time and effort that he put in to his job, and I knew he had wonderful side business with the cattle business and all, and so I tried to give him as much space as possible, because you look at the time that he, the time that Ellen and shared her husband with all of us, and I just felt like they needed some time back. So I tried to be respectful of that. selfishly, I wish I had spent a little bit more time, like Lance was talking about. But he would periodically come up to the track office and check in, and we did go for some walks. And he was nothing but 100% supportive of me and in the program, and was just super supportive, and it just made that transition a lot easier. It was much like when I hear the stories from his athletes, the looking, all they had to do was look in his eyes, and they knew what they had to do, and the level they had to go to get it done. And I think I got that same look a couple times, and certainly I didn't want to fail what he had created. And so I'm hoping that he's satisfied and appreciated some of the work that we've done. He's just been awesome to me.
I guess, Lance, just how much really did he impact you wanting to come here, as far as just knowing what the men's track program and the success that track could have here?
No doubt about it. I mean, one of the first people I met when I came on my visit to look at the job was with him. And I said, John, you've had unparalleled success. Do you think that could happen on the women's side? And he said, no doubt about it. But I'll make it real simple. You need to get some bell cows up front. And, that's kind of back to his cattle days, is that you always want lead, animals, and he called them bell cows. And so, don't try to mistake that you got to have some superstars to join your squad. But I think the one thing that impacted me most was how he created a culture on the men's team. Like Chris mentioned, all he had to do is give you a look and you knew what the expectation was. And I think that we've been able to do that now on the women's side as well. And many a time he would reach out and congratulate you, like, hey, when you win an SEC title or an NCAA title, he goes, hey, you got it going now, kid. And it was always kid to keep it going.
Thanks.
Bob, did you have a question?
Yeah, I had a couple of them. Kind of follow up on what Nate said. But Chris, I always got the impression that, John was like, hey, I'm here for you. All you have to do is ask, but he didn't want to be overbearing. Is that an accurate description?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yep. And I took it the same way on the other end. I didn't want to be an overbearing coach. I felt like he needed time away, and so I tried to respect that.
And then when we talked to you guys the other day, you mentioned about wanting to win the McDonnell Award. Now, that means a lot to any program, but especially to Arkansas. I don't want to put extra pressure on you, but does that have more meaning now? And how, I don't know, ironic is it that John passes away right here on the eve of the track championships?
Yeah, I mean, it is so ironic. This is where he did his best work, and so I know that Lance and I wish we were back in Fayetteville. We're going to be gone this week, but I lost the other part of the question, Bob. I'm sorry.
Oh, I guess I said I'm not trying to put extra pressure on you, but you talked the other day about the McDonnell, award means a lot to you guys, understandably.
No
means
doubt.
A lot to anybody to win that, but does that have maybe extra meaning right now?
Well, of course, it brings it more to the forefront. it always means a lot to us. You know, those, you know, there's a reason why that award was created nationally. And if we can win it here on the men's side this weekend, you know, I'd be thrilled. But on the other hand, you know, we'll just do our best, the best we possibly can.
And then Lance, I know you're already pretty accomplished coach by the time you got here, but were there things you picked up from John or learned from him that you've applied?
Oh, no doubt about it. I think the idea of escalating recruiting, the quality of athlete, if you're going to try to, you know, make an assault on consistently at the national level, the idea that, you know, your job is to develop these kids and take them to new heights. And I think that he was always willing to share ideas. And then there was times when he would, we were at a conference meet, I believe, in track, and things weren't going as well as we had hoped. And we had a couple of girls crying hysterically. And he walked over to me and said, "Man, they don't pay you enough to deal with that." So, you know, he always had a perspective, and he'd always, you know, make you feel good at the end of the day, where you could walk away and go, you know, obviously I'm doing something right, because the man that's an icon in our sport, you know, not only domestically but internationally, is on our side, and that really meant a lot.
When you say you guys visited John, this past Sunday, was it at his house? Yes. Or in the hospital?
At the hospice, yes.
Okay. I know John, like say, his health had been deteriorating, but what did that visit mean? Maybe if you could both just talk about getting able to see John one last time, maybe what that meant to y'all.
Go ahead, Lance.
I think, you know, when you go to a setting like that, the same setting as where my dad had passed, you're there more for the family. But, you know, I just wanted to have one last opportunity to speak to him and let him know how much he meant to me and to, you know, the Arkansas program, both men and women.
You know, I was able to go over there a few times. Cindy came over with me on Sunday as well. And so I was fortunate enough to be over there Sunday around 5 o'clock, around 5:30, and a bunch of the athletes had arranged, the local athletes that are here in town arranged to go over. They had Stanley red wine on FaceTime, and to you know, to sit around, to stand around you know, John's bed with his family there, and having these athletes tell stories about Coach and how much you know, he meant to them. And after running, and it wasn't just about the championships. In fact, he had a blanket on that had a mirage, a collage of all the different things that, you know, he had won in his life. It was a blanket. He was wearing that. And, you know, some of the guys made a special point saying it wasn't just about that. It's about the lessons that he taught me, that he taught us, that have carried on, you know, beyond track and field. And I think that's the thing that really stands out to me, is the success and the grit and the type of people that came out of that men's program that shines bright today because of Coach. And the special things that he done, as good as these guys were. I know John emphasized to him, don't let this be the biggest thing in your life. Don't let the NCAA championship be the biggest thing that ever happens to you, because it's just, a platform for for bigger and better things beyond track and field. And boy, does it shine when you listen in Ring True, when you listen to these athletes pay tribute like I did on Sunday to Coach. So many successful, wonderful athletes that they're hey, let's be like John. Let's do what John, as we move forward. Let's do what John did, and that did for us, and that is sacrifice and mentor and coach and teach and carry that legacy on, and that really hit home to me.
Hey, thanks for both your all's thoughts.
Thank you, Bob.
Jason, do you have a question?
Yeah, maybe Lance, picking off of what Chris, because I was going to go in that direction. I mean, legends are more than just wins and losses, and I think everybody would think that John's the greatest of all time when it comes to track and field and many other things. I mean, you saw it firsthand year after year, more than just the 40 national championships. What was John overall as a human being, as a coach, a mentor to you?
He was just such a great teacher and mentor. Like Chris was alluding to, is the idea that it was more than just the successes and the trophies and all the honors. It was to make sure that you were a success in life and that you moved on. And it really broke his heart when, somebody went astray for one reason or another, because that's not what he stood for. And he wanted to make sure that, you were a great contribution to society after you left your running career. He was just one of those individuals that had the vision way beyond just being titled coach. I know there was a story about somebody mentioned John Wooden as being the greatest coach to him. And he said, no, there's a track coach out there that's won much more than I ever had. And I think, when you have icons like that, respect each other. He was in that conversation.
Jason, I just look at, I just look at how successful a husband and dad he's been, despite all the success. Unprecedented success, just off the charts. When that's hard to do when you have a family, and that's one of the things that really has struck out to me is the love coming from Ellen and Heather and Sean and the family. They obviously shared, as I mentioned earlier, they shared them with us an awful lot, but just a wonderful family. And I just admire him for that he's able to have all this success and have this beautiful, loving family.
One of the things that a lot of people didn't realize, he started as a shop teacher and then wanted to coach in the worst way. And then obviously worked his way into the University of Arkansas and then became the head coach and so on. But when we did those runs together and walks together, a lot of the conversation was about his cattle ranching. He and Ellen, he was a great track coach, no doubt about it. He was a heck of a farmer and rancher. Just did an absolutely fantastic job. And always was a great resource when it came to that as well. And always told me, hey, you need to buy some property and diversify a little bit. Probably I started way too late, but it was amazing whatever he touched turned to gold. And he just was hardworking and just an amazing amount of energy. But he always had his family behind him to do the things that he did. And like Chris said, you know, Ellen and Sean and Heather have been there all the way through to the end.
Eric, did you have a question?
Yes, please. And first, my condolences, obviously, to both of you gentlemen, and obviously to the entire Razorback community. I really appreciate you guys taking the time. Either of you can answer first, but I mean, I just wanted to talk about. I mean, we know what his impact and his legacy is in Fayetteville and the University of Arkansas, but just in terms of how he changed the model for what, you know, what the sport is that we know collegiately. I mean, people throw around too loosely and, you know, almost without the right level of credibility about GOAT and Mount Rushmore and stuff like that. This guy changed the model and you know, what we know of the sport today. And Chris, I just was, you know, maybe you could start with just, you know, talking about, you know, that impact that someone can have on, you know, on how to recruit, how to coach, how to interact with people, how to mentor people, you know, which led to all the championships, but he completely changed the model for what we know sport as today.
Well, yeah, and I think that was one of the things I learned from him. You know, watching him all the years at Northern Iowa. Obviously, I was chasing him from a long ways from behind, but always, you know, you're looking at where the bar is the highest, and you're trying to reach that bar. You know, the thing that made an impression on me, Eric, was the, you know, in the awards named after him, he tried to win everything. He was a great track coach, obviously, you know, phenomenal distance coach, but, you know, he was a great track coach, and he, you know, his goal was to win everything. And I think he brought indoor track to a new level when he got together with Don Tyson and they created that, you know, the Tyson Center with the bank track, and just how that all came about, buying it from, you know, Toronto, Canada, and bringing it down, and then finally having somebody that, you know, again, John, when you look at him, he touched everybody. And I know Lance probably knows this more than me. It wasn't just track people in Fayetteville. It was every walk of life in Fayetteville that appreciated, you know, the winning and how, you know, what he brought for the state of Arkansas. And so when you look at the indoor track, he kind of changed that whole model with a banked indoor track, and it was a dedicated facility. And now look at what's happened across the country with that. And then, you know, you looked at the conference championships, and he would say, he's told me, you know, hey, you know, win the SEC meet, that comes first. You know, that's the meet you got to win. Everything, you know, everything else, now times have changed a little bit, but everything else will come to, you know, will come together for you. And so he was very much a team guy. He wanted as many athletes involved as possible, winning championships. I think that's one reason why he loved the SEC meet and the Southwest Conference meet, because it involved the most individuals. He was very succinct about when we put the John McDonnell Plaza and we put the poles, the structures up. He was very implicit that every name on the team had to be on that. Yep. It wasn't just the stars. Everybody had to be on it, everybody's name. And so, you know, I think that's how he changed the sport. And now there's an award named after him. And I think the Triple Crown is the hardest thing to win in track and field. And, you know, his name is on the John McDonnell Program of the Year Award because of, you know, that legacy that he created. He won everything. It's so impressive. And, you know, Arkansas hit the lottery when they hired him. And maybe I hope that explains a little bit what I see.
100%.
Just briefly, he loved, you know, the team aspect of track, and it showed. I think one of his biggest accomplishments, he told me, was and maybe I dreamt it, I don't know, but it was the 34, 35, conference championships in a row in cross country. Of all the national championships, I think that was one of his biggest, he told me one of his biggest, best accomplishments, and just speaks for the type of coach he was, so that he was there for everybody at every season. He always felt like every season had a meaning. Cross country has works towards indoors, and indoors is important towards outdoors, and without all three of them, you never reach your potential. And those are the kind of few things I picked up, and I think how he changed the sport.
I think one thing that he people didn't notice as much, but he was always kind of labeled as a distance coach. But one of the things as a head coach, he was incredibly adaptable. There were championships when he won with basically majority were sprinters. There was championships when he won with primarily jumpers. So whatever was the formula that was going to be most successful for Arkansas, he would adapt to. And then he would fill in, whatever strengths he had with maybe a distance crew to complement it. And that's a formula that I think both Bucky and I have adapted to, is that, hey, we're not going to be just specialists in one sport or the other, that we're going to try to reach across and have great cross country and great indoor and obviously great outdoor. So that's a model that he created.
And just as a quick follow, I mean, the fact, without a professional sport base, within the state, like Chris was saying, that, I mean, he made every season, destination sport, in Fayetteville, Arkansas. I mean, like that's easier said than done, but I mean, he made it must see, must watch conference national, for decades on end in a place that didn't have, any professional sport, not just football or baseball or basketball, any professional sport to call home. Lance, maybe you could piggyback on that. And then Chris, your thoughts?
Yeah, I just think that, for the entire state of Arkansas, he gave world credibility that, Arkansas is something you better be proud of, because track and field was synonymous with winning. And, I've been fortunate enough to be on a lot of international teams, and we could be, somewhere across the world, and people would go, oh, do you know John McDonnell? And it's like, oh yeah, obviously. He was an international celebrity when it came to our sport.
Yeah, I mean, what Lance just said there. I think we had Dorian Olray, a run of ours a few years ago, that was at a Grand Prix meet in Italy. He had his Arkansas uniform on, and from the stands, people he said I could hear people going "Woo Pig Suey" in Rome, and so I think that's the thing. That he did a great job of, as Lance was saying, he just wanted great athletes, track athletes. And not only did they come from the States, but all over the world. And it's amazing the number of his former athletes that live in the area right now. So left a great legacy in that regard.
Thank you both, guys. I appreciate it.
Our pleasure. Thanks, Eric.
Anybody else with a question?
And unfortunately, I might add this one more thing that I'll prolong it, but just John kind of coached everything from, it was almost like the UN as far as all the foreign athletes and everything else he had. And I wondered if you all learned anything from him on how he blended all those cultures and everybody together to form as a team.
I think one of the things that I picked up on, it didn't matter what country you were from, what your background was, but when you arrived in Fayetteville, you were a Razorback. And that he just instilled that culture, that to be prideful that you're wearing the Arkansas jersey, and that you're honored to be selected to be allowed to do that.
Yeah, that is 100% right, Lance. That's the thing that I got from him too. And that is, you know, when you come to Fayetteville, you know, you're not wearing your team gear from your other country. You're wearing Razorback gear, and I think that's quickly. You were on a slow boat back to where you came from if you didn't do that. And he was adamant about it. I'm sure, you know, that's the common denominator, is being a Razorback, and you know, being somebody from, you know, coming over from Ireland and coming into Northwest Arkansas, had the tremendous ability to read the room and say, you know what, this is a beautiful place. We're going to make this place go. And it's going to be all about Arkansas, in the state of Arkansas. And he just masterfully did it. And, you know, we try, you know, we have a team full of international kids, and it's harder these days when they're so connected back home with all their phones and everything. But, you know, there's something that I know Lance has done a great job of. I think we have too. And that is, you know, the blended, you know, these kids coming in from around the world, you know, to, you know, run for the Razorbacks. And I think you look at, Nate, you look at the number of international athletes that still live here today. And those kids, those athletes coming to practice and coming to the meets, and our new kids meeting them, whether it's Josephat Boyd or James Carano or Mike Powers or Godfrey Samui or a number of other athletes that have made their, David Swain, that made that Frank O'Mara, that made Gary Taylor, you can go on, that made their home here. And new kids coming in saying, hey, this place must be pretty special if these guys came and stayed. And, you know, that's a tremendous compliment to Northwest Arkansas and Fayetteville and the surrounding area of what a wonderful place it is to live. And so I think that helped, that bonding, Nate, is seeing those post collegiates being around and making their home here.